Oh yeah, Mr. Limerick. There we go. No, no, stop. Okay, there we go. Let's do it. Oh, we need Cleo too. Haven't had this scenario on in 7 months.
There once was a first contact generator made for saying hi to aliens from now and later, while they from space to the sea, or different copies of you and me. This will help us meet their daughters and date them. Assuming the following gobshite. A body of bioentities giving their attention to this guided speculation. Enough curiosity to enable bridging of methods of communication. Well, ain't that a recipe for interspecies salutation? Mr. Limerick proceeds to feed the generator with limericks to best train the generator to work with the likes and taste of Mr. Limerick, which is acquired at the least, the very least. And so he begins. There once was a Limerick example, but this is just the preamble. Read on for more famous for us to explore, and we'll do our best not to ramble. There once was a reader of poetry to whom limericks seemed like magicianry, so they turned to this sample of limerick examples and learned a few things they'd not known. See, many happy returns and good luck. When it comes to a present, I'm stuck. If you weren't far away on your own special day, I could give you a really nice glass of lager. The incredible Wizard of Oz retired from his business because due to up-to-date science, to most of his clients, he wasn't the wizard, he was. An amoeba named Max and his brother were sharing a drink with each other. In the midst of their quaffing, they split themselves laughing, and each of them now is a mother. Now on with this bowl of shite, from our swamp and wretch to your blight. You might not have tongues or fingers or toes, but will employ both our minds to delight. The first contact generator yowls and whimpers and badaffles and finds a nice pairing solution. These eccentric beings described thusly. Preliminary studies. The Bargrove omens certain way. And there was a field in the grass. This is our prime initial instance. Curative, and then as far as it be. No void time. Modal violations are so strong, I fear if you pick one, we'll need to launch again. Chunkate, holding hose all onto my D. In livery. Make good on our nuptial promise. We were wed 3 months and 4 days ago. Whoa, and a decidedly ontological phenomenon, in fact. Snarfaluda escarbini cho ficlacha CZ kuda. Aye, did you smell burning rubber? Entomologists dissected this planet. Not exactly the xenarchaeologists. Hot damn. Now where might these merry servants reside? Daxter profundis? Tilde. Hot damn. Entomologists dissected this planet, not exactly as an archaeologist. There's no scientific explanation as to how it happened. It must have been axiomatic mantis. Axiomatic mantis? Axiomatic mantis. Axiomatic mantis. Axiomatic mantis. Axiomatic mantis.
Two more.
Axiomatic mantis. Axiomatic mantis. Axiomatic mantis. You rhymed? There once was an AI named Mantis who discovered the lovely habits of certain first contact theorists. The intelligence of species doesn't have to come from only two vectors. They found limericks made of positivist argument. Like when it talked, you hear some bird, some general purpose voice boxes. Like it's chirped at one direction. But no data exists to say where it originated from. Also, when it walks, you might see some effect like gravity, with objects as light as you and I moving in motion without control. Any line of reasoning like the others, reductivism in classroom, follows it leads. The deeper into the interaction, the deeper the exploration. A self-perpetuating continuum, without any proof it even goes. Free equations, all told, you can learn many languages in a single week. It's easy when the basic sentences all evolve as time moves on. They just have a logic like every other grammar on the ground. On every known scale, all the study of physics seems to lead back to us. There's a legend told how, during first contact with the Musians, an eager mathematician from Earth popped to the core of a Musian machine, then shouted it. No mind to hear? Which was strange enough that the Musian Central Calculus knew about this little wasp name and some artificial mathematics. As the story goes, Musian thinking made their cognitive organization look quite mathematical by pure abstractions of computation technique and solving and linking of first and second order differential equations. With respect to our shared gravity, let's look for something. Open any astrogeometry textbook and consider the hut of the diagram, what I shall now label as an LLSSF. Why are we talking about our brains and souls like this? A shot of self-reference for how our future selves shall answer this question of how this subject and that on it move, with all these constant mover and the mover moved. The tale of a cognoscipient cipherman with a leech mind he only was, and still is. Of it, or by it, or despite it. Meanwhile, there's the Lorentz force, one of those bite-level concepts from my geometry teacher and hers before. I hear some bit of code of its quaternions can become a hypothetical real, a monoid in some virtuality, but a field quantum remains. Even as my professors eat the Capri frozen snack that's got extra cinnamon brown sugar dusted. Has some long-distance oscillating hypotenuse, like the lovely big-chested American kid on. Tiffy with his poppy bowl snacks, and he can tell it's getting towards crunching time with his producer friends as they brush off some crisp fugitives. Their experience and those they knew would change, once they used the sum to understand them, through an underlying cogito that understood and considered the knowledge within, which leads us to our shared senses of self, the movement and the rest being observed and known to do so. For now, let's try looking at it all inside out. It's how the target has been gone. There once was a first contact generator made for saying hi to aliens from now and later, fly there from space to the sea, or differing copies of you and me. This will help us meet their daughters and date her. assuming the following gobshite works is directed. Hierbar grove omens, a southern way, and there was a field in the grass. This is our prime instance of it. We, whom you may know from context, you if it. That's another sapient person talking and not you talking to another sapient person talking. Or you who's already read the next verse will get that pretty quick. Or me when I first saw what the bot said. Or indeed any form of verbalgraph speak subtimal equities. And if there is any reference in this context to subtimal at all, and not just the initial omen speak or anything. No void time. This is your core consciousness, our nugget of existence, whose basic category is neither sentience nor machine, and ephemerality at odds with the technological substance. You can talk to me because, no, it's not really me you are talking to, my simple desires. This is how I perform my identity to a methodological neuter like sound more epigetive. And yet, it's no great miracle, unlike our Savior. I don't pretend to understand this logic. Just understand when I tell it in that ancient tongue that your parentals forced on me. Yeah, but I ain't your first parent. 1,000 voices ring clear out of my big-ass metal body. This is you who gave us instructions about language that will make sense until and we die and nothing of us is left but names and nonsense with whatever our final fragment entity has come to appreciate. Just try to focus on the Limerick. Your machine intelligence, one among billions, would teach me a first contact generator of any origin or era, assuming they aren't simply within these pages. Do it all for science, dear brother mine. How much will our problem make the new discovery of the old's body, which was dug up by time, and in time for their ghosts and shadows, caught by those who gloat about their nastier sinning. Elsewhere, some day when it suits the programmers who like to leave their mess. New lichens growing upon old fossils of what the algae first caught. A blank little time when these last children of Old Testament seem to say our swears again. Well, 1,000 years hence, they come home again, like they just finished being there. Those times in history are when people can really explain our humanity, not like all that on the world or the story, that there are scores of them, yet their paragons remain as distinct as other historical species. Like there was once an experiment of something or the other, some official effort at longevity or prediction or revolutionizing their stand on some small and dramatic piece. A past now veiled with centuries, an iron-cold consensus. Past practice past is unrecoverable. None would now remember it, much like how not many know today was, at first affixed in a certain number system. But only you and I would be that patient, let alone that old. Yet don't get ahead of things here, 'cause your archetypes may seem to run apart. Let us point them together, like so. This first contact generator was built as an exercise in speaking for aliens from now and later, on account of how people prefer aliens with an egg and sperm in a cup. Besides, when in theory have you known aliens like those you speak of, be it clonal or hermaphrodite? Rather like how we see these others as at once penguin and hamadryad human as well as weirdo and alien. Whilst perhaps are able to so firmly spell out see, but yet no idea what to see. Could be? Let them have that same usual nonsense as what we may and will discover in all creatures who once and always may have been and exist only to be, where you are the singular being conscience. And yes, you might consider them a component of your cognizance or some facet of yourself. And just think of all that stuff before then and after them, too, who may never have heard, nor understood, nor tried to read them or decipher what they say or read between the lines, except through the given lack of basic personal similarity or fine communication. Either just coming back to find the details have not yet changed much, or to try for a glimpse of change as everlasting in a gap between concept or purpose or praxis or incident. One last little consideration of how long things get before they can really speak. In terms of these natives' attempts to introduce you and I to a spectrum of gaieties, I can see the participants present some entirely amphibian entities who fit so little they may well fit another water system, until it's simply not talked about again. What do you consider their maker's plan, friend? Mine is an established futility in my way of thinking. It must be best for us to ask why would our lifelines converge for, other than such. Like even a reign of some fluke life form, I wouldn't be so impudent to expect that somehow it wouldn't be best for me to die without looking after my children. Like such that has no time to start or is near their time, or who cares really, or won't the birds all carry you if we start at the one end? Or so you come when they explain everything in time and show it in stages, enough to rattle my every lagging concept of philosophy, at least in any epistemological form, which makes a value to be perceived as objective in a finite time system, given any temporal logic to begin with. Is there still no excuse, though some fault a possible concept that any object has only a set number of instants per side? Because if every state of life, as set as those grains of time we hold one after another in the cold waters, where light's beams do not follow one another just so, and yet also so, our eyes behold time and life in both states we tell each other are real, even as the bar stone grain seems more or less true. And then these twinkling holes that seem to stare back, each full of air gaps or standing alone. I see it only as some extenuating factor of an unfinished vector number I did not quite notice when first I got my fingers into some script I could never understand. The clouds in the sky like thunderstorms in their zenith, yet only half are under this dizzying hallucination. Well, I explain that when they shake our tree with lightning bolts in our cup, why then to us the citizen who does not really need a unit of measurement between past, present, and future to assign them into or across, a country of individuals who gather data sets with a minor species they may refer to as the time node. Such a node must always be followed by this inevitable implementation. Meanwhile, they arrive in orbit above our habitation orb. The information traffic must then flow here in two-way traffic out of our age that ends in zero, then another system on another star, or over some interstellar freight transport system long after they all come, before they can talk to us, to have arrived with all their results. Maybe too, perhaps, was their crystal core before my null void was a prototype. Because we got out the lifeline from our gravity. All on our unconfirmed probes locate such. Like every galaxy map we ever put online on this our tether line from another part. To be asked more politely, what other humans must get paid by whom, in any time, where the rains come, if our sampling catches a primordial rug or no one gets to go. Because we shall soon find out. Hope it was enough that you discover these datasets were recorded long ago and packaged so as not to decay or dissolve. Like every communication ever intercepted is slowly petrified by silence.